Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something profound today. Love doesn't always look like what we think it should. We've been conditioned to believe that love is loud, that it's constant, and that it's always right there in front of us, making us feel wanted at every turn. But let me challenge that thinking today. If he loves you, he will ignore you. I know it sounds strange, even shocking, but hear me out. Love is a paradox. It doesn't always show up in the way we expect. Love sometimes knows that space, silence, and absence are what bring a deeper connection. Space is a gift in relationships. A healthy relationship thrives not just on being together, but on allowing each other room to breathe, to grow, and to flourish. When a man loves you, he doesn't suffocate you with constant presence. He gives you the space you need to become the best version of yourself. He knows that in your growth there is beauty and that in your independence there is strength. You see, absence in love is powerful. It's a statement of trust. He knows that your bond is strong enough to withstand time and space. The love that he feels for you doesn't need to be reaffirmed every second. His absence doesn't mean he's drifting away. It means he trusts that you'll always be there. And when he returns, it's not because he was lost, but because he knew you would be there, standing strong, just as you were when he left. Now, I know some of you might be wondering, but doesn't silence mean he doesn't care? Let me set the record straight. Silence is not neglect. Silence is sometimes the loudest declaration of love. When he steps back, it's not because he doesn't love you. He steps back because he loves you enough to respect the space you need, the time you need to grow, and the strength you have in yourself. Sometimes silence is the greatest gift he can give you, a trust in your independence, a respect for your worth. Trust is the foundation of love. And when he loves you, he trusts you, and he trusts the love you share. A relationship built on trust doesn't need constant validation. You don't need constant affirmation to know that you're loved. Love knows that distance doesn't weaken the bond. Instead, it strengthens it. Let's be real, true love isn't about being clinging and needy. It's about giving each other the space to be who you are meant to be, without fear of losing each other. When he loves you, he doesn't need to hold you tight every moment. He trusts that your hearts will always find their way back to one another. So embrace those moments when he pulls away. Embrace the silence. In those moments, love is still there, just as strong, just as real. Trust in the process of love. Trust that sometimes love is found in the moments of absence, in the spaces between the words, and in the quiet of the heart. If he loves you, he will ignore you. And in that, you will find love stronger, deeper, and more real than you ever imagined. Thank you. Love is one of the most powerful forces in the world, and yet it's also one of the most misunderstood. We talk about love in grand sweeping terms, we celebrate it in songs, poems, and stories, and yet we often fail to grasp the full depth of what love truly is. It's easy to think that love always looks the same, that it's something obvious, something constant, something that shows up at every moment. But if we're being honest, love doesn't always look the way we expect it to. Here's the paradox sometimes. The truest expressions of love don't come with words, with constant attention, or even with closeness. Sometimes love shows up in the spaces between. When the world would tell you that love should be loud, it's often quiet. It's often quiet. When you expect to be held, love is stepping back, allowing room for you to breathe. When you need reassurance, love is trusting you enough to let you stand on your own. Love isn't always about being physically present in every moment. It's about the deep, unwavering trust that exists between two people who know that no matter what distance may come between them, the connection is unshakable. It's about recognizing that sometimes silence is more powerful than words, and that love at its core isn't about possession, but about freedom. Freedom to grow, to change, to become the fullest version of yourself. So as we think about love today, let's shift our perspective. What if we stop looking for love in the expected places? What if we look for love in the moments of silence, in the space that allows each person to become all they are meant to be? Love, in its truest form, doesn't cling. It doesn't try to hold on to you in ways that prevent you from growing. Instead, it lets you be, lets you soar, and knows that your love will remain even when you're not together. And sometimes love is expressed in the moments when he pulls away, not out of indifference, but because he knows the strength of your bond. It's in these quiet, unexpected moments that we often find the deepest truths about what love really is. Space in relationships is often misunderstood. We live in a world where we're taught that constant proximity equals love. We think that love means never being apart, that if you truly love someone, you should always be together, always share every moment, and always have each other within arm's reach. But in reality, the healthiest relationships are built on a foundation of space. This space isn't about distance, but about allowing each other to exist fully as individuals within the relationship. It's about giving each other the room to breathe, to grow, and to become who you are meant to be. Think about it. How can you expect to thrive in a relationship if you never have the time or freedom to grow? Love doesn't seek to trap or confine. True love is about honoring each other's individuality and recognizing that you both need space to expand, to evolve, and to pursue your passions and dreams. It's about knowing that growth can't happen if you're constantly under each other's shadow. The very act of giving each other space allows both partners to flourish. When you're allowed the freedom to be yourself without fear of losing the relationship, you both become better versions of who you are. This space is a reflection of deep trust. It's a trust that the bond you share doesn't need to be tested every moment, that the connection between you is strong enough to withstand time and distance. When he gives you space, he's not pulling away from you. He's honoring the trust that love requires room to grow. He understands that in letting go, you both grow stronger, not weaker. And when you return to each other, it's with a renewed sense of appreciation, a deeper connection, and a stronger sense of self. The beauty of space is that it lets you discover more about yourself, more about what you need, and more about what you can offer the relationship. It's a time for self-reflection, for pursuing your own path, for building your own dreams. It's not about loneliness, it's about the joy that comes from learning who you are outside of the relationship and bringing that newfound strength and wisdom back into it. When space is respected, love becomes a deeper, more fulfilling experience. You stop relying on each other to fill every need and instead learn to be whole in your own right. In this space, there's a freedom that allows the love to flow more freely, more purely. Love isn't about being together all the time. It's about the trust and understanding that when you come back together, it's because you both have grown individually and as a couple. And that, my friends, is where the real magic happens. When someone loves you deeply, they don't just love the version of you that fits into their world. They love the truest, most authentic version of you. Real love is not about molding you into something that fits into a box or meets someone else's expectations. It's about allowing you to be yourself without fear, without hesitation. True love sees you for who you are with all your complexities, quirks, and imperfections and loves you anyway. And that's exactly why love can be so freeing. When he loves you enough to let you be yourself, it's not just about giving you freedom in the sense of space. It's about giving you the freedom to grow, to evolve, and to chase your dreams without the weight of someone else's restrictions. He doesn't try to hold you down or limit your potential. He understands that for you to truly thrive, you need the freedom to discover who you are outside of anyone else's influence. In a world that constantly tries to define us, that constantly tells us how we should act, look, or think. Love gives you permission to step into your own power and to walk your own path. A person who truly loves you doesn't need to control you. They want to see you succeed, and they trust that your success will be theirs too. It's not about competition, it's about celebrating each other's individuality and building each other up. When love is present, there's no need for manipulation or dependency. He lets you chase your passions, build your dreams, and walk your journey with the full understanding that your growth is not a threat to the relationship, it enhances it. He loves you enough to let you step into the fullness of who you are, even if that means watching you step into spaces that might not always include him. True love is not a place of possession, but of partnership. He knows that as you grow into yourself, you bring a richness and depth to the relationship that wouldn't exist if he tried to hold you back. The freedom he gives you to be yourself is the greatest gift, because it shows just how much he believes in you and your potential. And when you are free to be yourself, something extraordinary happens. You become stronger, more confident, and more capable of loving back in a way that is deep, pure, and powerful. You are no longer trying to fit a mold or live up to someone else's idea of who you should be. Instead, you are living as the best version of yourself, and that is the kind of love that sustains. It's the kind of love that lasts, the kind of love that transforms you both into better versions of yourselves. So when he loves you enough to let you be yourself, it's not a sign of weakness or neglect. It's a sign of deep trust and respect. It's the kind of love that understands that your happiness doesn't depend on someone else's approval, but on your ability to stand strong in your own truth. And that, my friends, is love at its finest. There is a unique power in absence, one that many of us fail to recognize until we experience it for ourselves. In a world that constantly demands our attention, that tells us we must be always available, always connected, we often forget that sometimes the most powerful statements of love come when we step back and allow space to breathe. We are taught to think that love is proven by proximity, by how often someone is there, by how many hours we spend together. And yet in the silence, in the moments apart, we find something deeper, something more enduring. The power of absence lies in its ability to test the depth of what we truly share. When someone loves you, they know that love isn't fragile. It isn't dependent on being in each other's presence every minute of every day. Real love has the strength to withstand distance, to remain constant even when you're apart. It's in these moments that you begin to see just how strong the bond really is. Absence isn't a sign of weakness, it's a testament to the strength of the connection. When he steps away, it isn't because he's unsure of his love for you. It's because he knows deep down that what you share is far more powerful than mere proximity. He trusts that you will still be there, that the love won't disappear just because you're apart for a while. Absence also gives us the opportunity to grow individually, to reflect, and to appreciate the relationship in ways that we often overlook when we're constantly in each other's space. When we're apart, we get to rediscover who we are outside of the relationship, and that only makes us stronger when we come back together. It's a chance to build our own strength, to fill our own cup, and to step back into the relationship as a whole, independent person who has learned something new about themselves. The moments when we're apart are also the moments that can make us appreciate the presence of the other person even more. It's not about longing or dependency, it's about recognizing that absence is what makes the return so much sweeter. It's in the quiet and the moments of distance that we realize how deeply we care, how much the other person truly means to us. When they return, it isn't with the same sense of expectation or pressure. It's with the joy of knowing that they're back and the recognition that their absence was only a small part of the bigger picture of your relationship. Absence allows love to grow in a way that constant presence never could. It forces us to rely on trust, to believe in the strength of what we have even when we can't physically be together. It reminds us that love isn't about being physically present at all times, but about the unspoken understanding that we're always connected no matter the distance. So when he pulls away, when there's space between you, don't mistake it for a lack of love. Recognize it for what it is, the power of love that can survive distance, that thrives in absence, and that grows stronger in the quiet moments. Absence isn't something to fear or mourn. It's something to embrace, because it's in those moments that we truly discover just how deep our love runs. Silence can be one of the most misunderstood aspects of a relationship. In a world where constant communication is encouraged, where we are expected to be available at every moment, silence is often perceived as neglect or indifference. But silence, my friends, is not neglect. It is not a sign of disinterest or a lack of love. In fact, silence can be one of the most powerful forms of communication in a relationship. It is in those quiet moments that we often find the greatest understanding. When someone loves you, they don't always need to fill every silence with words. There is a deeper connection that exists between two people who understand each other beyond the need for constant conversation. Silence is an expression of comfort, of trust. It's the space where love can breathe freely, where two souls can simply be present with each other without the need to say anything. It's in the silence that we often discover the deepest parts of ourselves and each other. Think about it sometimes. When words are used too often, they lose their power. But in the quiet, in the moments where no one is speaking, the bond between two people is felt more deeply. Silence doesn't mean that love has faded. It means that you've reached a place in your relationship where you no longer need constant reassurance. You know that the love is still there, even without the need for words. Silence is the place where you can just be with no need to perform, no need to perform, no need to impress. It's the place where you are free to simply exist together side by side, knowing that your connection doesn't depend on anything other than being present. Sometimes silence is necessary for growth. There are moments when we all need to reflect, to gather our thoughts, to be alone with our own emotions and experiences. A loving partner understands that sometimes the best thing they can do is give space, not out of distance, but out of respect for the other person's need to process. Silence is a gift in these moments. It's a sign that love isn't about clinging or controlling, but about allowing each other the room to grow, to think, to heal. True love isn't afraid of silence. It recognizes it as a natural and necessary part of any healthy relationship. And then there's the power of silence in the face of conflict. In the heat of an argument, the words we say can often be harsh, impulsive, and regrettable. But silence gives us the opportunity to pause, to breathe, and to regain perspective. It's not about shutting down or ignoring the issue. It's about creating a space where we can reflect and approach the situation with calm and clarity. In those moments, silence is not an act of neglect, but of wisdom. It's a way of preserving the love and respect between two people. Knowing that sometimes it's better to be quiet than to say something we'll later regret. Silence is also about honoring each other's need for independence. When you're in a healthy relationship, you understand that both people are still individuals with their own needs, desires, and dreams. Silence doesn't mean that the connection is breaking down. It means that both individuals are strong enough to exist outside of each other, to live their own lives while still being deeply intertwined. When you love someone, you trust that they don't need to be constantly by your side, talking and interacting all the time. You know that the space they take, the silence they offer, is simply their way of showing you that they trust you to stand strong even when they're not immediately present. So let's stop seeing silence as a sign of neglect. Let's start seeing it for what it truly is, a reflection of trust, respect, and love. It's in those quiet moments that we often feel the deepest connection. It's in the silence that love shows its truest form, steady, unwavering, and strong, even when there's nothing to say. A relationship built on trust is a relationship that stands the test of time. Trust isn't just a word, it's the very foundation that holds everything together. It's the invisible thread that connects two people, making them stronger than they could ever be alone. Trust is what allows you to feel safe, to be vulnerable, to share your deepest fears and greatest dreams without fear of judgment or rejection. It's what makes love possible, because without trust, love can never truly grow or thrive. When trust exists, you no longer have to question the intentions or actions of the person you're with. You don't have to wonder if they have your best interests at heart, because you know they do. You don't have to second guess their words, because you understand that their actions align with their promises. Trust is what gives you the confidence to be your truest self, because you know that the person standing beside you sees you for who you really are and loves you, flaws and all. But trust isn't something that happens overnight. It's something that's built over time, piece by piece, through consistent actions, honesty, and a willingness to be open. Trust is earned. It's a slow, steady process that's cultivated through shared experiences, through being there for each other, through the highs and lows of life. It's in the little things, the way you show up when they need you, the way you listen without judgment, the way you support their dreams as if they were your own. These are the moments that build trust, not the grand gestures, but the quiet, everyday acts of love and loyalty. And trust isn't just about believing in the other person. It's also about believing in yourself and the strength of the bond you share. It's about knowing that no matter what comes your way, no matter what challenges or difficulties arise, the relationship you've built together can withstand it. Trust is about having the courage to face the unknown with the assurance that no matter what happens, you will stand by each other's side. When trust is present, there's no need to control, no need to question, no need to live in fear. You know that the other person isn't going anywhere. They're not going to walk away when things get tough, and they're not going to betray your confidence. Instead, they'll be there to work through things with you, to weather the storms together, and to celebrate the victories as one. Trust creates a space where both people can feel secure, and it allows for growth individually and as a couple. Trust is also the key to intimacy. Without trust, vulnerability is impossible. Without trust, you cannot truly open yourself to someone else, cannot let them see your raw, unfiltered self. But when trust is in place, there's nothing more freeing than allowing yourself to be seen completely without fear of rejection. You can show your wounds, your insecurities, your darkest thoughts, and know that the person you're with will hold them gently without judgment. That's the power of trust. It creates a safe space for true intimacy, where both people can be fully seen and fully loved without hesitation. A relationship built on trust is not just about being able to rely on each other. It's about knowing that the bond you share is unbreakable, that it is founded on mutual respect and understanding. Trust allows for deep connection, for honesty, for real communication. It means being able to speak your truth, to express your needs, to share your fears and hopes, and to know that the other person will honor them. It means being able to disagree without fear of losing the relationship, because you know that your connection is strong enough to handle the difficult conversations. When you build trust, you're building a relationship that has the ability to endure. You're building something that can withstand the challenges that life inevitably throws your way. Trust doesn't guarantee that everything will always be perfect, but it does guarantee that you'll be able to face whatever comes your way together with the confidence that you are in this as a team. It's knowing that no matter the distance, no matter the silence, no matter the storm, the trust you've built will always be there to bring you back to each other. And that, my friends, is the power of a relationship built on trust. It's a bond that can never be broken, a love that can never be shaken, and a future that is filled with possibility, because you know that you have each other to lean on no matter what. In the end, a relationship built on trust is the most beautiful foundation you can have. It's a foundation that allows love to flourish, to grow, and to withstand whatever challenges life throws your way. It's not built overnight, but through time, through consistency, through vulnerability, and through the quiet, everyday acts of commitment that show you are in this for the long haul. When you trust, you create space for love to blossom in its truest form, where both people can be free to be themselves, to grow, to dream, and to build a future together. So if you are in a relationship where trust has been established, cherish it, nurture it, protect it, and continue to strengthen it with every action, every word, and every shared experience. If you're in the process of building trust, remember that it takes time, patience, and intentionality. Trust is not just given, it's earned, and it's something that grows deeper with each passing day. But most importantly, understand that when trust is the foundation of your relationship, there's nothing that can stand in your way. You have built something that is unshakable, something that will carry you both through anything, and that, my friends, is a gift that is worth more than anything else in the world.